ready for the great adventure? Friends, welcome to The Great Price. Chapter 1. The Mission's Beginning. In the wonderful kingdom of life, all creatures lived happily. From big animals to tiny insects, everyone enjoyed the peace and abundance that their home offered them. The great Lord of the kingdom created streams of crystal clear water that irrigated all the vegetation and gave life to the animals, who drank happily every day, for the waters were refreshing. The great Lord also placed a well with abundant water, covered with vegetation and shining inside. Then he said to all his creatures,
"You may drink from all the water that flows from the stream, but you shall not drink from this well. For the moment you drink, you will experience great evil."
A cunning and evil spider was angry with the great Lord, for it was not enough for her to be just another creature in the kingdom. She believed she deserved a more important place than the others. So, filled with selfishness and a desire for power, she began to deceive all the animals, saying to them,
"Drink from the water in the well, for when you drink it, you will be immortal, like the great Lord of the kingdom."
All the creatures, deceived by the evil spider, decided to drink the water from the well. And as soon as they drank it, they began to feel an intense thirst that invaded their entire bodies and ended up drying up their hearts. Their dry hearts became insensitive. They stopped loving the great Lord, and they no longer wanted to live in the kingdom. Overcome by these feelings, they set off for the Valley of Dryness, a desolate and sad place. The great Lord, knowing that all his creatures had disobeyed his instruction, felt very angry, for he had already warned them of the great evil that would befall them. Despite their disobedience, the great Lord felt compassion for them and already had a plan to help them. He had their son, the Prince of the Kingdom, whom he sent to the dry valley and entrusted with a great mission: to heal his creatures and bring them back to the kingdom. Their dry hearts became insensitive. They stopped loving the great Lord, and they no longer wanted to live in the kingdom. The prince began his journey, passing through stormy lands and terrible swamps. But he did not give up, for his goal was clear. He had to fulfill the mission entrusted to him by the great Lord. Suddenly, as he advanced, he could finally see the dry valley from above. He quickly began to descend, and as he entered the valley, he could see that the dryness had completely consumed all the creatures. They were bitter, they were at odds, and a hostile atmosphere could be felt in the place. As he entered the main path of the valley, many of the creatures recognized the Son of the Great Lord, and with shouts and faces full of contempt, they asked him to leave the valley, for his presence made them uncomfortable. The prince began to speak to them, but the fury against him grew more intense, and no one wanted to hear him. Suddenly, in the midst of the turmoil, a small colony of insects interrupted the difficult moment, and in a weak voice, a small firefly said to all the creatures,
"Stop for a moment and see the great evil in which we find ourselves. Our life is being extinguished, and we have nothing to lose by listening to the prince's message."
The prince raised his voice and said to them,
"My father has sent me to heal your insensitive hearts and quench your terrible dryness."
The creatures slowly began to approach, and in disbelief wondered how this could be possible. The prince looked at them with love, took a cup of crystal clear water from his clothes, and said to them,
"This cup contains the water of life, which I obtained at a high price, and today I will give it to drink to anyone who is thirsty. Come to me and drink."
At that moment, the weak rhinoceros beetle approached the prince, and putting aside his pride and anger, asked him for a drink this have water. The prince brought the cup closer and gave him to drink. When the water began to flow through his body, the little creature felt his thirst disappear. and his heart began to beat strongly again. With shining eyes and great emotion, he embraced the prince. Seeing such an amazing scene, the rest of the creatures approached the prince one by one to ask him for drink of the water of life, which never ran out. They all began to heal from the terrible dryness, and their insensitive hearts felt love for the great Lord once again. Excited, they asked the prince, "How will we now return to the kingdom of the great Lord?" The great Lord had given his son a map back to the kingdom for all creatures who drank the water of life. The prince, handing them the map, told them they must follow the path until they reached the Mount of Repentance, and there they would know how to cross into the kingdom of the great Lord, his Father. Thus begins the great mission, a journey back to the kingdom, where everything can begin again. Produced by Grace and Foundation.